Hi, everyone. This is Dr. Gail Carson. Welcome to Living Regret Free, a program that shows you how to live a better and more joyful life. As an added bonus, I invite you to listen to an introduction to my Mindset Matters program, which ties into this so well. Go to www.sobmindset.com. It's free, and I know you will enjoy it. If you'd like to contact me personally, drop me a line at gailcarson13@gmail.com or go to my website, www.spunkyoldbroad.com, and sign up for my weekly newsletter. Hi, everyone. It's Dr. Gail Carson with Living Regret Free. I want to encourage all of you to go to my YouTube channel and sign up for it so you'll get the best of what we have to offer. And hopefully you'll go to my website to www.spunkyoldbroad.com. I have a terrific guest for you this morning, and he is Cedric Bertelli. He's the founder and director of the Emotional Health Institute. And that is an organization that provides information and education about emotional resolution, or what he calls MRES. EHI gives people struggling with stress, depression, anxiety, and many other negative emotions access to the best trained professionals who can guide them to resolve disruptive emotional patterns. It has taught thousands of adults how to resolve their emotional difficulties, and in the San Francisco Bay Area alone, over 200 teachers were trained to use the emotional resolution with children, thanks to the Institute's collaboration with Dedication Special Education and the Marin County Office of Education. Welcome, Cedric.
Well, thank you very much, Gail.
You know,
Hello.
it's interesting. I just was talking to my granddaughter the other day, and she is a teacher of special needs children, and
Uh-huh.
she had a fractured wrist because one of her 5-year-olds, now I can't even imagine this, but one of her 5-year-olds was throwing desks and chairs and everything around the classroom, and she ended up with a fractured wrist.
Yes.
So the things that you're doing are so important. So what brought you to this field of emotions and the work within it?
Well, it wasn't what I did at first. At first, I was working for the Ritz-Carlton. I was director of restaurants here in California. And I guess what brought me to this second career was my personal emotional state. I've been an anxious child for as long as I can remember, with a lot of anger, and then later on as an adult, I was dealing with a lot of anxiety, low-grade depression, and still a lot of anger. But of course, I wasn't showing it so much. However, inside, things were still boiling, and I just wasn't happy. So I started to look for solutions for myself at first. And when I started to study the brain and how the brain constructs emotion and how the brain can deconstruct emotion, I decided to completely change career, shift career, and dedicate my life to understand and find ways to help people and to help myself, of course.
Wow, that really is a shift because I admire the Ritz-Carltons. I admire their staffs. I admire their motto and their dedication to everything. So the fact that you were in that area of of work and then totally shifted is just amazing to me. So explain in a nutshell how emotions are made.
So, of course, that's not my theory. It's a theory that I borrow mostly to a fantastic woman called Lisa Barrett Feldman from Boston. And Lisa Barrett Feldman, who is a neuroscientist, and for me right now, she's kind of the pope of the neuroscience of emotion, if I may say. Um, uh, a disruptive emotional pattern, in a nutshell, is an obsolete prediction from the brain. You see, our brain constantly predict. Our brain respond and react sometimes, but that's not for the majority of the time. Most of the time, our brain predict based on past experiences. And we can see that, for example, with food. If we are about to have a food that we had in the past, right before we bite the food we're about to have, your body is already going to generate a prediction. Your body is going to anticipate how this food is going to taste. We can do that. We can see that simply by imagining biting an apple. By imagining biting an apple, you're already generating the experience of biting an apple, the crunchiness, the juiciness, etc., etc. Well, an emotion is also a prediction. You see, we know now that at the origin of every single one of our emotional pattern, or disruptive emotional pattern that is, there is the same kind of event, and it is always an event of very high stress. So at the origin of every single one of our anxiety, anger, depression, etc., is always an event of high stress, emotional stress, or physical stress. These events happen very early on, even in utero, at birth, during the very first years of our life, but also later on, of course, in our life. What is happening is during those very intense moments of stress, our cognitive mind, if the cognitive mind is developed very early on, during our first years of life, it's not even there, so to speak. During those events of very high stress, the cognitive mind disconnects, that's what we're going to call a dissociation, but the subconscious mind is recording everything that is happening at the moment of the stress. Now, to give you an idea, your cognitive mind, my cognitive mind, record and manage about 2,000 bits of information, data of information per second. 2,000. Our subconscious mind manage about 400 billion bits of information per second. So that tells you how much the body is gathering, or the subconscious mind is gathering, compared to what we actually are aware of.
So let me ask you something, Cedric. I mean, how much does our environment contribute to this? In other words, you said you were an anxious child. You were, there were a lot of things that went on in your life. And I'm thinking back, of course, to my life. And I really had a great life. I mean, I had loving parents. They were strict, they were disciplined, but I was kind of the maverick in my family. So my mom let me get away with a lot of things that my sister didn't, But, and we were totally different individuals, my sister and I, but we still have the same, shall we say, moral, ethical type of background. So how much does your environment and your parents and all of that have to do with everything?
I think it's a mix of a lot of things. The environment has definitely a lot to do, but also our environment growing up, of course, but also the environment of the mother while she was pregnant. And more than that, even we can call it an environment, but when the way that you were born as well. Being born for a baby is extremely stressful physically. So to answer your question, the environment is very, very important. It is very important for the mother as she's pregnant, and it is very important for us growing up. But I will say even before we come out of the world, things that happen in the womb and at birth already impacted us for life.
So can recurrent emotional difficulty be resolved then? And if so, in working with the individuals that you do, how long does it take to resolve these issues?
Yes, it is absolutely possible to resolve any disruptive emotional pattern. It is. Because you see, again, an emotional difficulty is a prediction. So to go back a little bit to what I was explaining earlier, when we are living a very intense stress, the cognitive mind is shutting down, the subconscious mind records everything that is happening during that stress, everything that can be gathered by the five senses, and everything that you're feeling in your body during this moment of high stress. Now, we know that we feel an emotion, stress, anxiety, because we feel it in our body, right? We feel physical sensations first. An emotional difficulty or an emotion always start by a physiological response. This physiological response is called interoception. The interoception is a physical sensation that you feel or that I feel that is letting us know that we're feeling an emotion. Now, go ahead. Do you
Well,
have a
I was
question?
going to ask you, so the people that you're dealing with at the Emotional Health Institute, are they mostly adults? Are they mostly kids? Is there a specific, well, I know there's not a specific age group, but is there a major age group that you find that you're working with that comes to you or is made aware of? Or how are people made aware of, for example, EHI? Do they,
Mm.
I mean, there's so many variables here.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I would say most of our clients or people that reach out are in between. I mean, I would say when parents send us their kids, it can start very early, but people that reach out directly to us is from the 20s up until the 80s.
Wow, that's
Now, oh
quite
yeah,
a range.
absolutely. I mean, people are dealing with emotional difficulties until the end of their life. You know, I have
That's so
several.
hard for me to understand and I'm not going to say believe, but understand, I guess, Cedric, because I'm thinking of people, and of course, I've done a lot of training and
Yes.
workshops in 50 countries, and I'm always amazed by people who have been carrying, I guess, what you would call parent tapes or, whatever
Yeah.
has been going on in their life for all of their life, and they haven't dealt with them. I mean, it just seems to me something when I have an issue come up,
Yes.
not that I have that many, but when I have an issue come up, I deal with it and then it's gone. Now, I think that has a lot to do with how I was raised. Because my mom made me face whatever came into my life, which I wasn't happy about at the time, but I know
Mhm.
it was a lesson learned. um, you know, it just is hard for me to understand how people could get to 80 and still not have these issues resolved.
Oh my God, you'll be surprised. You'll be surprised how much people pack, and store inside of them and don't never talked about it. I've been dealing with them, and of course, it make them sick one way or another. It's unbelievable, unbelievable. I mean, people in their 70s, mid 70s, are telling me things I never told anybody about sexual assault. Uh, I mean, you will not believe it, Gail. And a lot of people, I don't know if a lot is correct, but yes, a lot of people
That's
at the end,
amazing. It's just so amazing to me.
yeah, and at the end of their life, they want peace. So a lot of things that they did not have a chance to deal with before because of their education, because of their belief, because of maybe they didn't have the mean to find someone to help them. People want to deal with them before they, as they're getting ready to go on the other side. It's not a good way to say it, but just to finish life on with peace, which I think is very relevant.
So do you have these people who are, I don't know, employees of yours or contractors of yours? Do you have them just in San Francisco, or are they spread out across the country? And I
Mm-hmm.
would assume now with COVID and with
Yes.
being isolated, I know that I think, let's see, what is it? I'm keeping track. This week is my 50th week of isolation.
Oh
So
my
I've
God.
gone nowhere in 50 weeks because I'm immune compromised. So I'm very, very, very careful. And when
Oh,
I go out, I wear gloves and, of course, the mask and the whole thing. But, there are people who, because of not going anywhere or having friendships, etc., uh, just become so inner focused. And I'm lucky. I don't get depressed. I've got a kitty who keeps me company and that keeps me active. And I'm so busy all day with all the things I do that I don't have time to feel sorry for myself. But I also am very fortunate. But I think that also goes back to my personality. For example,
yes.
um, what was, let's see, so yesterday I was
Yes.
taking the trash out to the where they have the trash thing in our building, and I
Yes.
met one of my neighbors down the hall, and she asked me how everything was, and I said, well, there are good days and there are bad days, and she said, look, I want you to have my number just in case. You have no idea, Cedric, how many people in my building who I do not know have given me their number in case I need help.
Beautiful.
Plus, people I do know who have given me their number. For example, my birthday was last week, and somebody on the floor below me went to the Cheesecake Factory and bought me a key lime cheesecake for my birthday.
Oh,
So, but I think that's because I'm a happy person and I smile at people, although they can't see it behind my mask, but they can see your eyes. They know whether you acknowledge them, and yet I'm very strict getting into the elevator. If you don't have a mask on, you're not getting in. And, no more than two people in the elevator. And most people are pretty respectful, but
yes.
I think, I think it's how you approach life.
Absolutely. But you said something very important. It's your personality, Gail. It's your personality. It's the way you are. It's the way you are. That's why you're living those 50 weeks. Okay, there's some bad days, there's some good days, but overall, you have things to do. You're busy. You're active. You're connected to people, even with a distance and a mask, and
Yeah,
that's everything.
exactly, exactly. So how far does your reach from EHI extend?
Well, it's all over the country. We have practitioners all over the country. We have practitioners in Japan, in France, and in Germany. So it's international. And as you said earlier, with COVID, now people really feel more comfortable to work with Zoom or with Skype or on the phone. So the reach is, I mean, somebody from Texas can work with me with in California and vice versa. So it's really there is no more boundaries almost.
Well, that's true. And people who are, holding meetings and holding conferences and so forth are saying attendance is bigger than ever because nobody has to fly anywhere. So people are tuning in from around the world. So
Absolutely.
so how do you train your facilitators or train your people, or do they come to you already trained?
So no, we train them. We train them. So most of our practitioners or coach or therapist or in some kind of modality, healthcare modality or coaching modality. And the trainings, boy, they used to be done in person. Now it's all via Zoom. So we holding the training, the classes on Zoom. The curriculum is very interactive. Lot of exercises, lot of emotional resolutions among the practitioners, and it's I mean again. I mean, now that people are more comfortable to use Zoom, our classes in one class, you have people from literally all over the world. In the last class, we have people from Sweden, from Japan, from the USA, all in one group, which is also very rich and enjoyable for me to teach, with different mindset, different perception on life and culture. It's actually very rich, I must say.
Well, I think Zoom is the greatest thing that ever was invented myself, because although I sometimes get zoomed out because I have so many Zoom calls in a day, but yet, I used to fly 5 times a month between speaking engagements and conferences and so forth. I used to go 5 times a month, and I don't care if I go anywhere anymore. I do want to keep going in California. I had two homes in Southern California, which I sold because I knew I wasn't getting back there for a long time.
Mm.
But my son is out there, so I know I will get there eventually. But I also, that's the only place I really want to go. I don't care if I'm ever at an in-person conference anymore. So I think that probably has changed a lot of people's
Yes.
focus. Although I will say, what kind of things have you seen from especially women who have had to work from home, homeschool their kids, take care of all the domestic issues, may have elderly parents that they're caring for. I mean, they have a lot of responsibility, and although there may be some great husbands out there, it still is the woman's responsibility a lot of time. I am so fortunate. My husband passed away 12 years ago, but I was so fortunate that he was ahead of his time. He was the homebody. I mean, he worked, he had a business, but he was a homebody. He helped kids. He helped with the cleaning. He helped with the cooking. He helped with everything, and he didn't care how long I worked. He didn't care if I traveled. He said, "I love you. I know you love me." That's all that counts. Well,
Beautiful,
I was fortunate, and as I say, he was like 50 years ahead of his time. But what about these women? I mean, I think they said what, 2.5 million, I think women have left the workforce. Tell me about those issues. I'm sure you've seen some of those.
I seen it. I live it. I mean, we have a daughter as well. It is not easy to hold a job and to have the kid. I mean, here in California, I'm in Oakland, California, and the kids are not in school at all. They didn't go back to school, and I don't think they will be. So it is a lot of stress and responsibility and work, and it is heavy on the parents. It's heavy on the parents. There is anxiety, there is even tension between the two adults. So we do see people dealing with that. But again, it's people are so resilient. They know that they have to do it, like moms in particular, as you mentioned, they know they have to do it. So they seek for solution, and they reach out to us, and we help them with their stress, their anxiety, their frustration, so they can do the best with the situation that we're living now. People are extremely resilient in majority.
We have about 4 minutes left, Cedric, and I want to make sure our listening audience knows how to get a hold of you and the best way to reach you. I don't know if you have any kind of special gift for them or not, but how long does a person, well, I know it varies, but how long normally does a person have to work with you to see results?
So you see, the beauty of this work is this is not nothing against psychotherapy, but it is really based on the brain. So as I said earlier, an emotional difficulty is an obsolete prediction of the brain. What we're doing with MRES, emotional resolution, is updating this prediction, showing the brain that whatever create the anxiety, whatever create the stress, actually in our life today is not a danger anymore. Basically, we are tuning in the client's body to today's current reality instead of having the body predicting from past experiences. So working with us, any of our practitioners can be in for a very short period of time, as we pragmatically help the body to update, so to speak, predictions. So it depends on what the person wants to work on. If it's on a depression, for example, it might take several sessions because a depression is made of several emotions. But if it's a phobia, it might be one session. The goal of our practitioner is to be as efficient, respectful, and gentle with the client as possible.
Interesting. Very interesting. So how do people get a hold of you, Cedric, if they want to be able to do that?
The easiest way is to go to emotionalhealthinstitute.org, emotionalhealthinstitute.org. And you will have here all the practitioners, all the science behind the work, the different, shows, etc., etc. A lot of information there. And so that's the best source, really.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, I'll tell you something. I think there's so much more to discover about the brain, that we have yet to
yes.
know, because we're discovering new things all the time, which I think is wonderful. But I just think that you're providing such a wonderful service, and I think that it's something that all of our people should be aware of. So you can reach Cedric at his website, and give it to us one more time, Cedric.
Yes, it is emotionalhealthinstitute.org.
Okay, so remember, folks, it's the .org at the end, not .com.
Correct.
And he's got practitioners around the country. And now you can actually work with Cedric himself because where everything is on Zoom. So it's what it is. So we have about a minute left. Is there anything we have not said that needs to be said, Cedric?
Um, just maybe one thing, we said it, but I want to say it again. It doesn't matter how long you've been dealing with anxiety, with trauma, with stress, with anger. It can be released. It can be released. Your body, your brain has a natural capacity to do so. And we can help you with that.
That is so wonderful because I know there are so many people that are living with anxiety now and so many more suicides.
Oh my God,
So,
yeah.
because of the pandemic. So, all of that is something that needs to be dealt with. And again, for someone who doesn't have those issues, it's hard to believe people do have them, but you're dealing with those people every day. My sister's a psychotherapist, so
Uh-huh.
she also, it's amazing how she looks at life so totally different than I do. But I'm so happy we have people like you. So again, if you are trying to reach Cedric, remember, go to emotionalhealthinstitute.org. And thank you so much for being with us today, Cedric. We
Oh my
really
God, thank you.
appreciate it. And thank you for all that you're giving to us.
Thank you, Gail. Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure to talk with you today.
Thanks for listening, and I hope you enjoyed today's show. I choose my guests carefully, so if you have someone you'd like me to interview, please drop me a line at gailcarson13@gmail.com. In the meantime, check out my intro program, Mindset Matters, at www.sobmindset.com. See you next week.